Hello, I'm going to look at your task 1 answer now. First of all, we're going to look at the marking criteria. So in terms of task achievement, I would say that this is a 7. You have a good, clear overview here, which expresses the main idea of the graph. And then you have clearly described the different museums. You've used the exact figures. So that works very, very well. Okay. In terms of coherence and cohesion, you've organized the answer very well. So there's a clear progression through the 3 different museums, and you have put your overview in a separate paragraph. So that's very good. The area that you need to work on with the coherence and cohesion is the linking phrases. So you do have a few linking phrases, like however, in 2004, overall. But I would say that you need more. You can use words like conversely or in contrast if you are talking about trends which are the opposite, or you can use similarly or likewise if the trends have the same kind of pattern. It would also be very good to use some introductory sentences. So you have here, it can be seen that's fine, but you should also use some of those through the body of the answer. So a couple more introductory phrases and linking phrases. In terms of lexical resource, vocabulary, here I would say a 5. So you've definitely shown a desire to use synonyms, which is good, and to vary your language. And you have some good expressions for comparing the different figures for the different museums. However, this is a graph movement. It's a bar chart, but you have a time period. So therefore, it's a graph movement type of task, which means that you really need to have more expressions related to graph movement. To rise, to decline, to decrease substantially, to remain stable, to hit a peak, all of those kinds of words. And we don't really have very many of those. There's more just statements of the number of visitors or comparison between the different figures. So you do have growing steadily, but you would need to have a lot more phrases to do with graph movement. Okay. There are also some words which are not correct. So famous is not the same as popular. Famous is only related to how well known the museum is. It's not at all related to the number of people visiting it. So that doesn't work in that sense. Journeyers is not a word that that we use, so it's best to avoid that. So while it's good to have variety and to use synonyms, just be careful that those synonyms are well known, that they are used in by native speakers. Okay. So that's the lexical resource. In terms of the grammatical range and accuracy, I would say that was a 6. So you do have some complex sentences, that's good, but quite a lot of the sentences are simple. Okay, there's one subject and there's one verb. So what you would need to do is to join some of these sentences together. Okay, so to have more complex sentences and fewer simple sentences. Overall, that would give you a 6. So now we'll look at the specific mistakes and the areas that they are in. So remember here that the category is the number. Okay, so it's not the spectators themselves that are large, it's the number of spectators. So you need to use the words number if it's countable, or amount if it's uncountable, in front of the category. Okay, famous I already talked about. Here it's grammatical accuracy, so it's about singular and plural. So it's the numbers of the visitors. It needs to be plural. You have a plural verb, so you need to have a plural noun as the subject. Okay. In this case, it's a vocabulary issue. So if something has dropped twice, then it's half what it was originally. So we can use the verb to halve. So the visitors' numbers have halved from the original figures. Okay, so if we use dropped, then it would not be passive, it would just be dropped. It would be an active form because the number is the subject of the verb, so there's no passive there. The next mistake is related to articles. So whenever you talk about something specific, then we always need to use the. Okay, generally we have no the, specifically we have the. The subsequent 3 years, that's a specific period. We know exactly what we're talking about, so it needs to be the subsequent 3 years. Okay. Here again, we are talking about the tourists are not large. It's the number of tourists that is large. Okay. And here it's an issue with an article. So we don't use the together with both. It's just both years. Okay. Here is a question of collocation. Okay, collocation is using the correct words together. So significantly and lost the battle, they do not collocate, they do not work together. So you could say to a significant extent or to a large extent, that would work, but you can't use significantly together with lost. Okay. Here it's an issue of tense. So had been, this is the present perfect, that would distinguish 2 events in the past. So you would be explaining which of those events became first and which of them came second. In this sentence from 2003 to 2005, you're talking about one period of time in the past. There's no connection to a separate period of time in the past, so there's no past perfect. It would just be was attended. Okay. Here we have an issue with grammar. So least is used either with an adjective, so we can say the least popular, or with a noun, a general noun. So we can say the least visitors. But if you use the word amount or the word number, then we need to use lowest. Okay. Journeys, as I said, is not a word that we use in English. And here we have a couple of mistakes. So one is articles. So same always takes the article the, always, okay, because again, it's specific. The next mistake is related to countable and uncountable nouns. Visitors, kind of person, so that's countable. When we have countable, we need to say number. When something is uncountable, for example, production, then we can say amount. Okay. So those are some of the specific mistakes, grammar mistakes that you need to work on. Okay. So overall, it's a good answer in many ways, but you would definitely need to include more graph movement vocabulary, a lot more graph movement vocabulary, some more linking phrases and introductory phrases, And just be careful with your synonyms, okay? It's very good to use the synonyms, but it's got to be a word that we do use. It's got to be a correct synonym for that word. Okay, I hope this has been helpful.